Taking a look here at Jill and her sidekick Daisy. Jill is a melee fighter with 13 health. Daisy, the sidekick, is melee also, but with 6 health. Move of 2. The ability is, at the start of your turn, activate one of your gadgets. Whenever Jill Trent attacks, resolve the active gadget's effect. The first gadget we see here is the Hypno Ray Blaster. During combat, if your card's printed value is lower than your opponent's, reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. Increase the value of your attack by the boost value of the revealed card. The other gadget on the other side is the Ultra Biotic Tonic. After combat, if your card's printed value is higher than your opponent's, Jill Trent recovers 1 health. Going through her cards now, starting off with Jill's attack cards. Battle of Wits. It's a 4 boost, important to note, and 3 copies in the deck. After combat, reveal the top card of your deck and your opponent's deck. If your card has a higher boost value, deal 3 damage to the opposing fighter. Our next card here is a defense only, and there are 2 copies in the deck. Hypnotist. Immediately, if your active gadget is Hypno Ray Blaster, cancel all effects on your opponent's card. Get into her versatiles. Utility Belt. 3 boosts, 3 copies. After combat, choose 1. Jill Trent recovers 1 health, or move Jill Trent 1 space, or draw 1 card. And now for the any cards, keeping in mind that either of them can use these. 2 copies of Energizing Spray. After combat, gain 1 action. It's a 5 value attack. Then a 5 value defense any, 2 copies, Indestructible Cloth. Immediately, this combat, your fighter does not take damage from effects other than combat damage. Caught Red-Handed is a 1 value scheme, 2 copies. After combat, your opponent discards 1 card. If you won the combat, they discard 2 cards instead. Then Laser Pen, 3 copies, 2 value versatile. After combat, deal 1 damage to the opposing fighter. Status Diffuser, 2 copies, 3 value versatile. Immediately, the value of your opponent's card is equal to its printed value and cannot be changed. 3 value versatile, 2 copies, Insightful Deduction. After combat, reveal the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Put 1 of them on the bottom of the deck and the rest on top in any order. Gyroscopic Jetpack, 4 value versatile, 3 copies. Move your fighter up to 2 spaces. They may move through opposing fighters. Now, moving on to the Daisy-only cards, Sisters in Arms, 2 copies, 3 value versatile. This card's effects cannot be canceled. If Daisy and Jill are adjacent and Daisy is attacking, Daisy gains the effect on Jill Trent's gadget. Then a 5 value versatile Daisy-only card, Ace Fighter, 2 copies, 3 boost. After combat, draw 1 card. Another 3 boost, getting into the scheme. Here, the only scheme in the entire deck, 2 copies. Helpful Assistant. Shuffle up to 3 Jill Trent cards in your discard pile back into your deck. Draw 1 card. So Jill has a pretty average health pool at 13, but she does have healing in her deck and in her gadget here, the Tonic. She has a sidekick, and I would venture to say one of the greatest sidekicks in the game. You do want to keep Daisy alive. At the start of your turn, or at the start of the game rather, you do not have a gadget out, and that will be important here in a little bit. But at the beginning of your turn, you'll get to choose one of the gadgets and go with that. Now, which one are you going to choose? I'd say most of the time you need to be choosing the Hypno Ray Blaster. And for this one, obviously, you're going to try to barely lose combat, right? You want to lose combat, but just barely, so that you get the boosted effect to go over their card in the end. And then for the tonic here, the Ultra Biotic Tonic, if it's higher, you get to heal, right? And healing's always good. If you're going for fatigue game too, you can just do this and heal. But I recommend not using that one as often as the blaster, right? You could do crazy mind games with these gadgets, as you will be able to see here, because even if you don't plan on using something, well, let's just take a look, right? Let's dive into it. So first, we're going to look at Battle of Wits. We have to keep in mind that it's a 4 boost value because sometimes that card can be on top of your deck and can play into the effect on the Battle of Wits. So it can play into itself, and there are 3 copies of that. And that is reveal the top card of your deck and your opponent's deck. So you're both flipping it, revealing it, that's it. And if your card has a higher boost value, you deal 3 damage. So you want yours to be a higher boost value. So you can keep in mind what cards you still have in your deck. Mostly you're going to have ones. These Daisy cards are going to be 3 boosts. So even when she's dead, she'll be able to use Jill can use the boost values at least, so that's pretty beneficial. The utility belt, which is a good card you don't want to get rid of, but in this case we just reveal it and you get 3, but then they know that it's in your hand, and the rest are kind of low, right? But you do have this 4, which is pretty high for a boost value. Sometimes you do know what's on top of the opponent's deck due to the Hypno Ray Blaster. So where is that? Where's the Hypno Ray? Or due to the Hypno Ray Blaster and another card here, which is, let's see, this one, Insightful Deduction, which is revealing 3 cards from your opponent's deck and you put them in any order. You might be able to use that in conjunction with Battle of Wits. And of course, 3 damage. That's excellent. 2, not great, but it is 3 damage. Energizing Spray. A 5 is always great, right? Always good to see a 5. And the fact is that either of them can use it. You can hide her behind Daisy if you need Daisy to take attacks, or to keep Daisy alive and have her in front. In the fray, you'll be able to use this for either of them. And it's a gain action. So you can even move away after if that, or attack again, right? And you can use these both one right after the other. 5 into another 5. You've gained actions. You're dwindling down their hand size, and you're able to do stuff. Now, it's a good bait with the Hypno Ray, because this says if your value is lower, so they might be trying to play a lower value, because they think you're playing a 2 or something, like they might think you're playing the laser pen, for example, and you played this because you started with the Hypno Ray Blaster, and they play like a regroup. Well, then they're taking 4 damage, right? So that could be a fun little mind game you can play with this as well, a good bait. It's almost a guaranteed heal with the Ultra Tonic as well if you go that route. So a heal and a 5 and a gain in action is pretty good. So essentially, these gadgets add extra ability onto the card, or extra effect onto each card. This is what a great defense, right? It's a 3. That's decent, but when your active gadget is the Hypno Ray Blaster cancel effects, my advice would be make sure this is on there when this is in your hand. Make sure you have the Hypno Ray Blaster to at least threaten that. And have this out, because if you're on the tonic, this is just a flat 3, right? That's not very helpful. Cancels are usually pretty helpful in a match in the game of Unmatched. Indestructible Cloth, what an incredible defense. A 5. Incredible defense where the opponent can only do combat damage. What more needs to be said except it's an any. That means you can keep Daisy alive. She can stay alive very well. Even though with 6 health and that she's a sidekick, you can keep her alive if you so choose. And you do want to choose that usually. Now, caught red-handed. Your opponent discards 1 card. If you won the combat, they discard 2 instead. Well, obviously you're going to want to play this with the Hypno Ray so that it's lower, because 1 usually beats everything as far as being lower. And they might play a lower defense, so you can discard at least 1, right? But discarding is good regardless. Even if you don't get the 2 discarding is great regardless. And there's 2 copies of that in the deck. The laser pen, it almost secures your Hypno Ray, right? Not much is going to be lower than a 2. They could cancel it, obviously. And okay, that's okay. But dealing 1 damage is 1 damage, right? A damage is a damage. And don't sleep on this card, because if you play with Hypno Ray and you're lower, and they play a 3, which, most defenses are going to be a 3, and you play the 2 and yours is lower, you get to boost yours with a card from the top of their deck, and you're dealing a damage, and you're going to usually go over with the damage. The Stasis Diffuser, this is nice for things like Momentous Shift or Ambush, because the value of the opponent's card, it's immediately. The value of the opponent's card is equal to the printed value and cannot be changed. So I believe this also works against things like Alice and Golden Bat and their +2s and stuff like that on their abilities, because the card cannot be changed. The value is the printed value, and that's it. And that's what you're dealing with. So don't sleep on that card. Again, it's an any. Either of them can use it. Insightful Deduction. This is useful for deck knowledge and manipulation, right? And like I mentioned before, you can use it in conjunction with cards such as Battle of Wits and have a real Battle of Wits, right? Or more like a Battle of Knowledge. And you know what's on top of their deck because you've placed it. And then you attack with the other one and you win. You deal the 3 damage on the Battle of Wits card. Okay? So that is a good combo to use with Jill. Then here we have another Jill card only, and it's the Utility Belt. The versatility of the options that you have here are great. You can recover health, you can move a space, or you can draw a card. So depending, your choice will depend on where you're at the game. Maybe you do need to move a space away or position closer to somebody for an attack if you've used this to defend, or you need to get your hand size up because you don't really have much much draw power. And then, of course, recovering a health. Always nice to recover health, right? So depending on the game, depending on what character you're playing against, make a decision and positioning and all that. Take all factors into account before you just make a decision and think, oh, I want 1 health. Well, maybe it's more beneficial to move and then deal them more damage on your next turn or something like that, right? Positioning, card draw, stuff like that. So think before you make your choice. And then the gyroscope jetpack. This is a solid 4. 4s are, solid. This is kind of like a skirmish, right? But it's a little better. And there's 3 copies. Move your fighter up to 2 spaces. They may move through opposing fighters, so you can move through opposing fighters. Normally, I'd say use this on defense. It's best for defense and, of course, low positioning. These Daisy cards are all pretty good. Or like I said, Daisy's a great sidekick. And Sisters in Arms, she's able to use the gadget that is active if she's using this to attack and if they're adjacent, right? So there's some stipulations here. So your opponent might know that that's coming and might try to defend. Well, they can't cancel it, right? So, but they might know that this is coming. It's a little bit more predictable. And maybe you play something else instead that isn't as predictable, such as Ace Fighter or one of the any cards that you can use, right? Like the gain action or something like that, and then go into this. For just an example, Ace Fighter is draw a card. And the fact that it's a 5 versatile is absolutely bonkers, right? Ace Fighter, maybe use it to keep her alive, right? You might need it for the defense to keep her alive. And you want to keep her alive for the recursion card that we're going to talk about in just a second. But if you already used Helpful Assistant, this card, both of them twice, and I think it's better to not keep her alive and just, use it for the attack. Unless maybe you're looking to body block or something like that in the game. But what a great card that is. And it's a 3 boost, right? So that helps you out in some ways. Now we have the Helpful Assistant. This is the only scheme in the deck, but what a great scheme it is. Shuffle up to 3 Jill Trent cards in your discard pile, back into your deck, draw 1 card. This is crazy because it's a 6-card recursion reshuffle, right? You get to go through and pick up 3 again. You do draw, so that's not as good for fatiguing the opponent, but it is a pass, right? It works as a pass, so that's great. Keep Daisy alive for this. You need to keep Daisy alive for this card especially. And here's the cards she can recursion from it, just so you're aware of the 3 cards. And again, it's depending on the matchup and what you're trying to do, which cards you want to do, which cards you want to recursion. And I recommend this one a lot and this one, but all 3 of these are just great options to recursion. So whatever you got, and usually you don't really have that many options in your deck of what to recursion. You're just recursioning this. But either way, it's very, very good to recursion. So it won't matter in the end. So Daisy's a little bit of a tricky character to get a grasp on and to remember everything. She's got a lot of different effects, a lot of different things going on, and things that happen with her gadgets, depending on which gadget she has for her cards and her attacks. But I would say the main thing is keep Daisy alive. I think you're going to do well either way because, she just has some good defenses and attacks. You just have to know when to use which of these. And again, like I said, use the Hypno Ray Blaster more than the Ultra Biotic Tonic if you can. Now, if you're going for that fatigue game, maybe you want to use this and recover health. And maybe your card is kind of forcing you, right? If you have a higher printed value card, like a 5, and maybe you want to do this, right? To recover that health. It's almost guaranteed. And in that case, though, things like this become predictable. So switch it up sometimes. Just because it's the optimal thing to do doesn't mean it's the optimal thing to actually do in a competitive game because they will have a better idea what's coming. But if you flip this onto something you actually won't benefit you, it will throw them off. More often than not, it will benefit you to do exactly what you should with the gadget you choose. But sometimes, like I mentioned, with some of these cards, with some of these attacks and stuff, maybe you want to throw them off and throw out an attack that, whoa, I didn't think you'd play such a high card when you're going for lower values, for example, or vice versa. So it can throw them off, and you can get some things off that you couldn't otherwise. Of course, you're not going to get that effect off, but you get some other things off and mess up their card play. And Jill, what a great character. You need your sidekick at your side to win. I think. I mean, of course, you could win without it if you get nuked in the beginning somehow and you didn't draw the proper daisy cards. I think you could still pull it off. It's just so much harder because of how the max value you can get out of each of these daisy cards is pretty incredible and useful. And of course, for body blocking, it's just nice having a little sidekick instead of being a solo hero. So I hope that helps you understand Jill Trent a little better and helps you play her a little bit better in your personal games.